we're going to go to the Google Postmaster and let them know that we are legit. And I'm going to show you how to do that. It's probably big enough. Okay, so we're going to Google Postmaster. All right, so make sure you're logged in on Chrome, okay? All right, so I'm logged in on Chrome. I have it small, so you can't really see that much, but make sure you're logged into your Chrome with your Gmail account. And you want to go to, you can type in Google Postmaster and likely find it pretty easily, okay? So you can see right there, we're going to go to that Google Postmaster. And let's make sure that's the right one. Support, so you got to be careful. Okay, we want to do support.google.com. So that's a good example of why it is always a good idea to make sure that you type in the domain, or at least know where you are, at least know that you have a reputable source for that domain. So this is postmaster.google.com. Okay, so you can see how that's different. That other one was probably not necessarily malicious or anything, but it was probably some paid service. All right, so once you get here, this is easy. See this big plus sign? There's no directions on here at all. I love it. There's just a button. Just hit the button and don't worry about it. All right, so hit the button and put in your domain. I mean your email. Okay. And when I said domain the first time, that's what I meant. So we were putting in our domain, cornercoffees.com. We're going to hit next. Okay, now we got to verify your ownership of Corners Coffee. So see this code right here? Now this is going to sound a little bit techie, right? But just stick with me. Copy it. Okay. We're going to go back to our cPanel. Back to cPanel. Back to the front. Okay, we're going to go down because we want to get to our DNS Zone Editor right here. All right. Now we got to get our domain. This one right here. We're going to go to Manage. Okay. And we're going to add a record. Add a record. Okay. And let's see, this is going to be a text record. Time to live, make that 600 seconds. If you're really impatient, you can do 2, but 600 is recommended. All right, paste in that verification right there. Okay, so I just pasted it in the Google verification under record. Okay, and then we're going to fill in under name. We can put our domain name. And if you're bad with spelling like me and you make a lot of fat fingers, you want to make sure that you pay attention, or else you can drive yourself nuts and you can't get something to work. All right, so we're putting in our domain, and then I also trail a period on this too, like so. You have to do that sometimes, depending on how your setup is. And then we're going to add the record. All right, so we've added the text verification record for Google. If you're still with me, all right, you just updated your DNS records. All right. Now, DNS can take up to 24 to 48 hours to propagate. but this is normally pretty quick, so we'll go ahead and hit verify and see if it's good. Okay, it has been added to your verified domains. Done. All right, we're verified. Google Postmaster, baby. All right, now next up, we go back to the server. So first things first, we got our basic email going, right? We should be able to go to our email here and test it. So I just sent that from my Gmail to my new email I just created. We'll hit send. All right. And you didn't see that because I just hopped over. But I did just send an email to myself to make sure that we are good. All right, now we're going to go to email accounts. And I'm just going to check to see if that has come in yet, that email that I sent from Gmail. So let's check mail. And the only reason I'm doing this instead of using the Gmail account, again, is just because it's like real time, it's quicker. So hopefully that doesn't make it more confusing. I'm sure it already is a little bit, but we'll get through this just fine. So wait that for a sec to come over. Okay, so while we're waiting for our test email to come through, it should just be a minute, we're going to go down and set up some important settings. So you remember when I talked about the importance of not forwarding all your email to your mail client like Outlook, right? Or like how we just created our own with Gmail. The reason you don't want to do that is because if you're forwarding spam that people sent you, you are then spamming Google or Microsoft or whatever mail client you're using, because you're forwarding the spam that was sent to you on. So you're jacking up your domain. You're going to get your domain a high spam score, which is not good, right? So what you do is you get to your cPanel, right? You go to your box trapper. Okay. Now your box trapper is going to protect you from spam by trapping it, right? So all you need to do is hit manage. Okay. And we want to enable and go back. Okay. And you can do some configuration settings, like you can put your name in, right? And I did DJ Corners Coffee, because this will help kind of get emails through, right? If the name's totally different, right, it'll help filter those out so you know they're junk. You can do how many do you want to keep in the box, in the queue, right, that don't pass the spam test. I usually leave it at 15, the default. The minimum Apache Spam Assassin score is set default negative 2.5. Okay, that is the threshold for how the email is scored on the spammy scale. You can read a lot about Spam Assassin and that whole initiative that was started years ago, but we're not going to cover it now. Just to know, I recommend setting this up, right, and hitting save. And this way, when you're pulling your mail off of your server to your mail client, like I mentioned, you're not pulling in spam. So you're not sending spam from your server to another server. All right. Everything else you can pretty much leave default for the time being, right? If you have some emails that end up being problems, right, they shouldn't be spam, you can always go in here and edit those, add them to a whitelist. And then when you want to see what has been trapped in your spam box trapper, you just go down here to review queue, and that'll pull up your emails, right? There's nothing here because it's new. All right, so we're gonna go back. All right. So we got our basics set up. All right, now we're gonna go and start to fine tune this thing so we can really get some good emails going. All right, so first thing we want to do is we're going to go back to our cPanel tools, and we're going to go to our email deliverability. So email deliverability is going to look at 3 different things. it's going to look at your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records on your DNS. Basically what those are is that validates that you are who you say you are, and that you're authorized to send mail from that domain. So the reason these exist is it has been very easy for people to hijack domains and send fraudulent mail on behalf of domain names unauthorized, right? So these are some safety steps in place that protect you and the people getting mail, so that they know it is legit and that it is not fraudulent or phishing mail. All right, so you can see right here we automatically have some warnings. So if you see SPF, fix that one first, okay? So here's our email. We're just going to hit repair. It's going to give us a suggestion, right? We can hit repair. We can just keep it as is. Don't need to get fancy yet. And this is stuff that your hosting provider normally doesn't set up for you unless you're with us. Same thing with DMARC. We're going to see that in a little bit. Most hosting providers, no matter how much you pay them, they don't set this up for you. And we're going to look at this one too for our domain. Okay, so you can read this on your own. So DKIM problem exists. It tells you what needs to be fixed, and then these are the records, kind of like we just added for that Google verification. So let's go ahead and install the suggested record. Okay, we got a green success. So we got our DKIM, and I have a book, I think an ebook on like the nitty-gritty of this too, that I will leave in the comments. The next thing we're gonna do, once we get these basic settings going, we're gonna do a little test email, and we're gonna send it to my mail tester to see how spammy we are, right? You think it could be any more difficult? Well, it is. But it's worth it because not everybody does this. So if you want to improve your open rates, this is how you do it. All right, and we're going to be mostly using for the first part, we're going to use our Gmail. I'm going to zoom out here. Let me switch window. Now you can add a ton of custom emails if you want, right? And how it works. Depending on how you set this up, you can customize it, y'all know that. But when you want to just check mail from the Bean team, you can just click here. This is where your new email is going to show up, right? When you want to compose mail, you can select who you want to send it from. Okay? So once you do that, you're sending it from the Bean team at Corners Coffee. So you got your custom domain. All right, so we're going to do our first test email. All right. So when you go to my website, you can go to Discover, Get Found Online Marketing, and go to Test Your Email Deliverability. All right, so I want you to go down here and copy this address right here. Hit Got It on the cookies. Okay, copy that address. All right. And then we're going to take that back to our email. Okay, we're going to paste it in there. All right, now I recommend putting in normal amounts of text, just like it's a normal email. And I usually copy some, to be honest with you. I don't feel like typing a bunch of stuff. So I'll go and just take a block of text from an existing email. And I'll show you this too while we're in here. This is how I have multiple emails that I have all lined up, managing them through Gmail, all my custom emails. I find it very easy to do. So you can see I have BJ click, BJ Blackburn at bjblackburn.com, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so let's grab this one. This is kind of like salesy. Neil Patel, there we go. The marketing king of digital marketing. So we're going to snag his content just so we don't have to type a million things. And this, as you can see on the side, like I mentioned, you have all your emails, and then when you compose one, That one stinks too. There we go. We're going to snag that image too. All right. Copy that. Take it back. Paste it. Bam. Okay, so that's an average email. It's got a couple links. All right, now let's give it the test and see how we do. All right, so we're going to send this for our first spamminess test. And I will break this video down into several parts because I know it's getting pretty long. So after we do this, I'm going to show you how we get the results, and then we can do part 2 for correcting the spammy part for those interested. But you have your basic email set up, and message was sent. All right, so once you send the message, okay, you come back to the spamminess checker and hit check your score. Now this is going to check multiple things that we're going to cover. Wow, that's not bad on the first one. Jeez, 9 out of 10. I know we need to add a DMARC record and some other things, but that's pretty impressive. So that's just following those basic steps, guys. And I will show you before we go. So some tests that I did previous to this, just random people, random forms on the internet, they did not fare so well. Here's an 8 out of 10. This was missing a DMARC record. This was from a reputable site too, right? And that's a little overwhelming to look at. Just make that smaller. All right, so here's all the stuff that was wrong with this. It didn't have a unsubscribe link, right? Whole bunch of stuff. So that's what we're going to cover on the next one. If you were able to get through all that, give you a lot of props for that. All right, so that's the basics. We got email set up. We did our first test. We beat the average with 9 out of 10 on the spectrum. So that's good. And I'll see you guys next time.